strategic planning.
Yeah.
It's fundamental, right? We all kind of know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Foundational for so many things.
For business, politics, even education.
Yeah.
You need that strategic thinking to, well, get anywhere. But, you know, the big question is always how? How do you actually get good at it?
Exactly. And, well, sometimes the traditional ways, lectures and textbooks, they feel a bit, I don't know, flat. They don't always spark that deep critical thinking.
Yeah, they can miss the mark sometimes. Okay, so let's unpack something really interesting today. This deep dive is all about a pretty fresh take on building these crucial skills.
What's really fascinating here is using a board game, you know, as the main way to learn.
A board game, okay,
Yeah.
like a serious board game.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not just like rolling dice and moving pieces around randomly. This game very cleverly weaves in mobile technology and this concept called Dual-Scaffolding.
Dual-Scaffolding, okay, tell me more.
Think of it like providing support to learners in two really key ways. First, helping them develop their actual thinking processes, and second, helping them learn by interacting with each other, with your peers.
Got it. Cognitive support and peer support working together. So our mission here is to really explore how this game-based approach tackles strategic analysis and planning. We've got some great research looking at the design, the thinking behind it, and importantly, whether it actually worked.
Yeah, and the study is quite specific. They took 68 university students
Okay.
and basically split them. One group used this special board game. The control group used more traditional case study discussions.
Right, the classic comparison. So we can see if the game made a real difference. Let's dive into what they found.
Okay, so first, maybe we should properly unpack this idea of scaffolding in education. It's a key term here.
Good idea. It's not about building sites, obviously.
No. The idea really goes back to some important educational thinkers. It's about giving learners just the right kind of support so they can tackle things they maybe couldn't quite manage on their own yet. It's about bridging that gap, you know, between what they can do now and what they could do.
Like temporary support, something to help you reach the next level, then maybe you don't need it anymore.
Exactly. Like training wheels on a bike. That's a perfect analogy.
Right, they give you that balance and confidence at the start, and the benefits seem pretty clear, right? Less confusion.
Definitely less confusion. It helps structure the learning.
Helps you actually build understanding, internalize it, and then hopefully use that knowledge somewhere else, that learning transfer piece.
That's the goal. And researchers talk about different kinds of scaffolding, but for this game, we're focused on sort of three main types. How it helps you think, that's cognitive scaffolding.
Okay.
How you learn from working with others, that's peer scaffolding.
Right.
And then how you reflect on your own learning process, that's metacognitive scaffolding.
Yeah.
Helping you think about your thinking.
Metacognitive. Okay, so cognitive is filling knowledge gaps, guiding thoughts. Peer is the social, collaborative side. And metacognitive is about self-awareness and planning your learning.
You got it.
And the mobile tech fits in with that metacognitive part, you were saying.
Precisely. It allows for this mobile-based metacognitive scaffolding. So picture getting real-time checks on your answers, or maybe multimedia hints.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like a little nudge from the app prompting you to reflect. Are you sure about that? Or have you considered this? Some research from 2022 really digs into how effective this can be.
Real-time reflection prompts. And the idea is that using multiple types of scaffolding is better than just one.
Yeah, there's definitely research suggesting that. Different studies found that combining scaffolds often leads to, well, better learning outcomes. It's like having a more complete support system.
Makes sense. Different tools for different needs. Okay, so we have scaffolding. Now, why board games plus mobile tech? What's the magic in that combination?
Well, board games are just brilliant for role simulation, aren't they? Putting you in a specific situation.
Yeah, and for face-to-face interaction, that peer scaffolding piece happens almost automatically when you're sitting around a table together.
Exactly. You're talking, debating, planning as a team. Then you add the mobile tech.
And that brings in the cognitive support.
It can, yes. And that immediate feedback we talked about, maybe through images, short videos, instant checks, it can make the whole thing feel more immersive. And actually enhance the social interaction too, oddly enough.
Enhance it. How so?
Well, if the tech helps clarify something quickly or confirms a group's idea, it can keep the discussion flowing, maybe prevent getting bogged down in uncertainty.
Okay, I can see that. So it smooths the process. Now, you mentioned tech. What about actually getting people to use the tech? I remember something called the technology acceptance model.
Ah, yes, TAM. That's highly relevant here. Basically, it suggests that for learners to really buy into using educational tech, like this games app, they need to feel two key things.
Okay, what are they?
First, that it's actually useful, that it helps them learn. That's perceived usefulness.
Makes sense.
And second, that it's easy to use. Not frustrating or overly complicated. That's perceived ease of use.
Right. If it's clunky or feels pointless, forget it. No one's going to bother.
Exactly. You lose engagement immediately. So this educational game framework they used tried to build on that.
How would it try to ensure usefulness and ease of use in this context?
It focused on making the game scenarios feel, well, realistic. Like plausible coffee shop situation.
Okay. Relatable.
Yeah. And allowing players to monitor their own strategies, providing that real-time diagnosis when they made a mistake, and really pushing the collaboration. And crucially, that metacognitive scaffolding, often through the mobile app, was key to helping them plan, monitor, and sort of evaluate their own strategic thinking as they went.
Okay, let's get specific then. This coffee shop management game, how did it actually work? How did the scaffolding in the app function day to day, or rather turn to turn in the game?
Right. So you're a coffee shop manager team. You move around the board, you draw these information cards describing different business situations. Maybe a new competitor opens up, or there's a trend towards organic coffee, things like that.
Okay. Standard business challenges.
Exactly. And the core task is to read that text and figure out the SWOT factors: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
The classic SWOT analysis.
The classic. And here's where the tech and scaffolding comes in. You analyze the card, discuss it with your team, maybe look at a reference card for help defining SWOT.
That's the cognitive scaffold?
That's one part, yes. Then you can use the mobile app to scan the information card.
And what happens then?
The app might give you a hint, maybe an image related to the factor. And critically, it gives you immediate feedback. Yes, that's a strength, or no, try again. Real-time check.
Wow, okay. Instant feedback on your analysis. That sounds much better than waiting days for a grade. So the study mentioned two main stages in the game's cognitive design.
Yes. Stage one is that SWOT analysis we just discussed. Exploring, drawing cards, analyzing the text, using reference cards maybe, using the app for hints and checks.
Got it. Analyzing the situation. What's stage two?
Stage two moves into planning. It's called TOWS planning.
TOWS SWOT backwards.
Sort of. It stands for threats, opportunities, weaknesses, strengths. It's about using the SWOT insights to actually formulate strategies. How do you use your strengths to seize opportunities? How do you minimize weaknesses to avoid threats? That kind of thing.
Ah, okay. Turning analysis into action.
Precisely. In the game, you use specific strategy cards along with the SWOT factor cards you identified earlier.
Yeah.
You physically assemble combinations representing management strategies.
Like matching a strength card with an opportunity card and a relevant strategy card.
Exactly. And then, you guessed it,
Scan it with the app.
scan it with the app. And it tells you if that combination, that strategy, makes logical sense based on the underlying SWOT factors. It checks the strategic alignment.
That's really clever. It connects the analysis directly to the planning decisions with feedback. Okay, so let's quickly recap those three types of scaffolding within the game itself. Cognitive first.
Cognitive scaffolding. Mainly those text reference cards. They define SWOT, explain internal versus external factors, basic definitions and structure.
Clear definitions. Okay. Mobile-based metacognitive.
That's the app. Scanning the info cards gives image hints, visual prompts for reflection. Scanning the TOWS combinations gives that real-time check on your strategic logic. It pushes you to self-assess your choices right then.
Prompts and checks via the app. Got it. And peer scaffolding.
That's baked into the game rules. Designed for 4 Nepali players per group, requires discussion, collaboration to analyze the cards, agree on SWOT, devise TOWS strategies. The teamwork is the peer scaffolding.
Okay, the structure forces collaboration. Now, you mentioned points earlier. How did the scoring work? Was it competitive?
Yes, there was a competitive element. Each group starts with game points, representing funds. Using app hints, cost points. Getting answers wrong on the app checks cost points.
Ah, a penalty for needing help or being wrong.
Right. But completing tasks correctly in both the SWOT and TOWS stages earned the group more funds. The team with the most funds at the end wins.
So there's a strategic decision about when to use the app's help versus trying to figure it out yourselves to save points. Interesting meta strategy.
Exactly. Okay, so that's the game. Now, the results. What did this study actually find? Learning effectiveness first. Did the game group learn more?
Well, here's what's interesting. The group using the game did show a significant improvement in their strategic analysis and planning skills. Comparing their pre-test scores to their post-test scores, there was a definite jump.
Okay, so the game worked for them internally. What about the control group?
The control group, the ones doing case studies, they didn't show that same level of significant improvement from pre-test to post-test.
So the game seems to have had a bigger impact on skill development within that group.
It seems so, but, and this is a key but, when they compared the final post-test scores between the two groups, there wasn't a significant difference.
Okay. So the game group improved significantly, the case study group didn't improve significantly, but they ended up in roughly the same place. How do we square that?
It's a bit puzzling on the surface. It could mean the case study still offered some learning, just maybe not as demonstrably significant within the time frame. Or, as the researchers suggest, maybe the game group didn't fully utilize all the scaffolding tools available.
Like if they relied heavily on peer discussion, but didn't use the cognitive or app-based scaffolds as much.
Exactly. Perhaps the full potential advantage of the game wasn't realized because they didn't leverage all its features, especially if using the app cost points. So the difference between the two methods overall might have been muted. Still, the clear improvement within the game group is a strong positive signal for the game itself.
Okay, that clarifies it. It's effective,
Yeah.
but maybe its full power wasn't tapped in this specific run. What about engagement? Did the students enjoy it, that whole flow idea?
Yes, high engagement. The game group reported really high overall flow. They felt absorbed, intrinsically motivated. That autotelic experience doing it for the sake of doing it was the highest rated aspect.
That's great. Learning felt less like a chore and more like an engaging activity.
Definitely. Both the things leading to flow and the feeling of flow were significantly high. But one aspect, loss of self-consciousness, wasn't rated as high.
Why might that be? Usually in flow, you kind of forget yourself.
Well, think about it. Strategic planning requires, conscious thought. You need to monitor your thinking, analyze information, talk to your team. You can be highly engaged, but you probably don't completely lose self-awareness like you might in, say, playing a fast-paced video game. The learning task itself demands some self-monitoring.
Good point. The nature of the task keeps you somewhat grounded in your own thought process. Okay. And the technology, do they like the app? Find it useful? Easy?
Yes, high marks for tech acceptance too. Across the board, perceived usefulness, perceived ease of use, and even a game factor dimension were all rated highly. They felt it helped them learn, it wasn't hard to use, and the game itself was well designed.
Excellent. So the tech was a facilitator, not a barrier. What about anxiety? Did playing a game feel less stressful than, say, traditional learning?
Interestingly, both groups' game and case study felt significantly less anxious about learning strategic planning after their activity.
Oh, so both methods helped reduce learning anxiety.
Apparently so. And there wasn't a big difference between the groups in that reduction. Plus, for the game group, their specific anxiety about playing the game was also very low. It wasn't a stressful experience.
Okay, so maybe structured activities in general, game or case study, can lower anxiety compared to just reading or lectures. Good to know. Now let's revisit the scaffolding usage. You mentioned differences earlier.
Huge differences. Peer scaffolding, working with teammates, was used by almost everyone, like 97%.
Oh.
But the cognitive scaffolding, reference cards, and the mobile-based metacognitive scaffolding, app and checks, were both used much less, only around 41% of the time.
41%. That's quite a drop. Why the heavy reliance on peers?
The researchers figure it's the game design itself. Collaboration was essential to play and win, so talking to each other was constant and necessary.
Makes sense. It was built in. And the lower use of the others.
For the cognitive stuff, maybe some students felt they already knew the basics, the definitions on the cards weren't needed.
Okay, prior knowledge.
And for the mobile app scaffolding, remember it cost points to get hints.
The cost factor.
Yeah.
That could definitely make groups hesitant, trying to conserve points to win.
Yeah,
They'd probably try peer discussion first.
exactly. A strategic trade-off.
Yeah.
But even with lower usage, how helpful did they find each type when they did use them?
Peer scaffolding was rated highly helpful across everything. Planning, understanding goals, making sense of situations, solving problems, motivation, even reducing anxiety. It was the clear all-rounder.
Okay, no surprise given the usage. What about the others?
Cognitive scaffolding was seen as helpful for understanding goals, integrating info, and problem-solving, kind of the foundational understanding piece.
Right.
And the mobile-based metacognitive scaffolding, despite lower use, was still rated as helpful for the core strategic planning task, understanding goals, problem-solving, motivation, and reducing anxiety.
Interesting. So even if the cost limited its use, when they did use the app's help, they found it valuable for some really key things.
Yeah, it suggests that feature, the real-time feedback and hints, has real potential value, even if the game mechanics in this version might have discouraged its frequent use.
So pulling it all together, what are the big conclusions here? What's the main message from this study?
I think the main takeaway is pretty strong evidence that this kind of approach, combining a board game, mobile tech, and these different scaffolds, really can work. It effectively improves strategic planning skills in the students who used it.
And they were engaged, they accepted the tech.
Highly engaged, positive about the tech, and importantly, learning anxiety went down. It also really highlights just how crucial that peer interaction is in collaborative learning settings.
Yeah, the peer aspect seems absolutely central.
Definitely. The high use, the high helpfulness ratings. Collaboration is key. But as the researchers noted, sometimes the quality of those peer discussions wasn't always optimal. Some students mentioned that.
So just talking isn't enough.
Not always. And that's where maybe better integration or encouragement to use the cognitive and mobile-based scaffolds could come in. They could help elevate the quality of the peer talk, provide factual checks, or guide the discussion more effectively.
So peer interaction is vital, but the other scaffolds can potentially make that interaction better and more accurate.
Exactly. It's about finding the right balance, getting all the support systems working together synergistically.
This has been really insightful, a fantastic look at an innovative teaching method. So to wrap up, this strategic planning game really shows the potential of mixing games, mobile tech, and scaffolding for business education. Better learning, more engagement, good tech acceptance.
And while peer learning is clearly powerful, figuring out the best way to weave in those cognitive and mobile supports seems like the next challenge for designers.
Absolutely. Which leads to a final thought for you listening. Thinking about these findings, how could these ideas, gamification, different kinds of learning support, be applied to learning complex skills in other areas you're interested in, beyond business?
Yeah, what role could technology play in scaffolding learning in, say, science or the arts or technical training? It's worth pondering how these principles might translate.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. I'd encourage everyone to explore more about game-based learning and scaffolding. It feels like a really promising direction for making learning more effective and, frankly, more engaging.